gals and ghouls. It's Holly, your resident final girl and scream queen. Today, we are going to be talking about Hokum. And I have thoughts. You might want to stick around until the end for this one. Hokum opens in the desert with a man and a child trying to break a glass bottle. The situation seems hopeless when the man tells the child to stand in front of him to break the bottle over his head. We cut away to someone typing on a laptop and we realize it's actually a story being written by our main character, Ohm. We're starting the tropes early because what other way could we convey that he's an author? Anyway, he glasses up and sees a figure on the staircase. He slowly raises the lamp to face it and the figure is gone, only to appear from behind him. Although we've seen this done a million times, I still found this scare pretty effective. The movie quickly establishes its tone and what you can expect here. He looks at a picture of a woman and decides there's no better time for an impromptu trip. Ohm travels to Ireland to scatter his parents' ashes at their honeymoon spot. And it is very hard to root for this character. And that is a problem for me because so much of the story depends on your investment in him. Once Ohm arrives, everything feels off immediately. Dead goat outside the hotel, creepy locals, awkward conversations. This is an introvert's worst nightmare. He is greeted by Mal, who recognizes his name and asks if he can get an autograph for his son, and is quickly given a no in response. Ohm heads up to look for his room, and while wandering around lost, he meets Fiona. She calls out his rudeness, and he changes his tone with her, and even asks her where he might find the tree in the picture of his mother. He goes and sprinkles the ashes. He finds the dead goat again, and here we meet our fun character, Jerry, who is a little bit crazy drinking his magic mushrooms and milk, but hey, we listen and we don't judge. They share a few words, and Ohm heads back to the hotel. Having a drink at the bar, he proceeds to tell the bartender the ending of his book, to which she replies, "Why would you write this? It's so bleak." She is not wrong. They get on the topic of his parents. His young mother in the photo we find out was killed only a few years after that was taken, to which Fiona asks, did they catch and punish the guy who did it? Ohm replies, no, he was too young, but he should have been hanged. Oh, I do love a little bit of good foreshadowing. He asks about the honeymoon suite, and we find out the honeymoon suite has been shut down for years because it is haunted by a witch. The door is always locked and there are metal bars in front of it. Not the best hotel decor, but they make do. Ohm showcases more of his pleasant personality before he is cut off from the bar and retires for the night. He's just so unlikable. Yeah. Remember that foreshadowing I mentioned? Fiona realizes that he left his tape recorder and goes to his room to bring it to him. She asks another employee to open it because she just has a bad feeling, and we find Ohm hanging from the ceiling. Ohm has hung himself in the hotel room. He wakes up in the hospital alive thanks to Fiona and proceeds to head back to the hotel to retrieve his stuff and to apologize for what she undoubtedly went through upon finding him. He sees that the hotel is being closed for the season and asks where he can find Fiona, only to find out she's been missing since the day after she found him. We see our buddy Jerry again, who is convinced that Fiona is actually dead and that it has to do with the honeymoon suite. During one of his usual break-ins for medicine, the honeymoon suite bell started ringing, and he sees Fiona's ghost pointing to it. Jerry and Ohm decide that they are going to break into the hotel once it's officially closed to see if they can find Fiona there. Well, Jerry is quickly dispatched, so it is now up to Ohm to get into the honeymoon suite with the stolen key. Ohm soon realizes why they say the room is haunted, and it gets a little 1408 in there. We learn that Ohm is, in fact, the one who killed his mother, which really was not surprising to me in the least bit. He played with his father's gun, and it went off, causing her death. This is the reason we see him constantly haunted by her presence throughout the film. His grief and guilt have caused him to be forever followed by her. This was predictable, but I guess we needed a reason for his character to be so unlikable. He finds Fiona's body and listens to her recording admitting her affair with the married Mal and subsequent pregnancy, while also confirming that Mal was responsible for her death, giving the story one last emotional moment before things go fully supernatural. It was also heartbreaking listening to Fiona on the tape as the panic sets in and she realizes what awaits her. Ohm decides to go down the dumbwaiter where he found Fiona and discovers the witch is, in fact, real, and she's found a new person of interest. She begins crawling through the dumbwaiter shaft in one of the film's most effective horror scenes. Luckily, Ohm remembers that if he draws a circle around himself with chalk, it will keep her at bay. Meanwhile, Jerry is trying to get back to the hotel to help his new buddy, going as far as throwing himself out of a moving vehicle. Jerry was jumping out of a moving car to figure out what was going on. If that's not true friendship, I don't know what is. And I think that we all need a Jerry in our life. Night has passed, it is morning, and Jerry finally gets back to the hotel. Mal tries to convince him that he dropped a drunk Ohm off at the airport. Meanwhile, Ohm uses the honeymoon suite bell to try to alert Jerry he is up there. Jerry takes a page out of his friend Fiona's book and says something isn't right. Wielding an axe, he gets up there to free Ohm, and then... yeah, bye, Jerry. So now, just about every likable character has been killed off. Not that there were many to start. Mal lights the building on fire while Ohm decides, fuck this, I won't spoil the rest for anyone else still interested in watching, even though I spoiled plenty of other things. Alright, so I don't normally do this, but I changed my mind. Okay? Hear me out. He's just so unlikable. When I first watched this, I just could not get over how much I did not like this character. And I think that that is kind of what, I don't know, maybe kind of lessened the movie for me, so to speak. But the more I thought about it and the more that I really truly had to think on the concept of grief, I think the more that I actually started to understand his character. Now, that's not to say that he's not an asshole, because he is. But I don't know, I guess it did kind of add another layer to the movie for me that I didn't originally think about. And I can honestly say now I actually do like the movie a little bit more than I did originally when I first recorded recorded my thoughts on it, because that was days ago. So, okay. Let's go back. There are these subtle little moments where you do start to see Ohm's humanity peeking through. Um, it's just kind of like blink and you'll miss it. But the more I thought on it, the more I realized that this is a much more complicated lead character, because for the most part, I think the lead character in a movie is usually somebody that most people can relate to. They have redeeming qualities because you want to see them get to the end of the movie. You want to see the character survive. With him, it's not like that at all. It's the exact opposite. You're kind of sitting there like, why should I care if he survives? Because he's just so unkind. But we do see those subtle humanity peaks, and just the fact that you can see his overall grief over what happened to his mother, that, you know, he has her haunting him, really does actually speak to his humanity. He cared about what he did. He's upset over it. It has changed his entire outlook on life. Maybe he could have been a kind person had that not happened. So I do change my overall opinion on the character and on him, because you know what? I don't think that it's very often that we get to see such a representation of grief and guilt in this way. We usually see very like overdone cartoony aspects of it, or you see the healed part of that person already. The journey's already done, they've done the healing. And here, he kind of goes through the motions. We're with him going through the motions, especially, after his attempted unalivement. We are seeing this multi leveled emotional journey going on. All the while, we're also having these supernatural events. So, you know what? I give this like a point higher because it did stay with me and it did actually have me thinking past when the credits rolled. Because that's one thing that I will say. If a movie doesn't keep me thinking, or if I can't remember anything about it once the credits hit, then that's a bad movie. That's not a good sign. But this one, I watched this a couple weeks ago and it's still on my brain. So, you know what? The character development and character work in this movie was actually very well done. It just took me a little bit to realize it. Anyway, did you guys see Hokum? What did you think? Let me know in the comments. All right, I'm Holly, and thank you always for watching.